bringing you the latest news from Coronado Athletics. This is the Mustang Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Happy Monday evening and welcome into the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. This will be the final Monday night High School Fan Zone of the school year. We'll take a little bit of a hiatus and come back in the fall. September, it won't feel like fall, but we'll call it fall. So Monday night and Wednesday night this week is it until late August, early September. So that's one reason I wanted to have a couple of volleyball coaches come in this week, because these guys don't get to, a lot of times they're playing on Tuesday, well, most Tuesday nights they're playing. I think we had Kandi Stephens in once last year because you guys were usually preoccupied, taking care of business. If you're watching on TV, you can tell to my far left, I've got Coronado volleyball coach Kandi Stephens. We're going to jump into the Mustang Fan Zone. I'm going to let her introduce her two players and then let them talk so you can understand them or recognize them by voice for those listening on radio. First of all, welcome, Kandi. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us back.
Introduce your two girls here real quick.
Right here to my right is Caitlin Olguin. She is an incoming senior. Last year she was primarily a DS. However, she stepped up and set for us in 2 critical games and did a wonderful job.
Yeah, we're going to tell that story because that's a cool story. Mm-hmm.
And then next to her is Haley Parrott-Curtis, who is also an incoming senior. She did some outside and right side hitting last year. She'll be our dominant outside this coming season. So. And
I wanted to get volleyball coaches in here because your seasons are so weird, because it took me a while to get used to this. I think I've told you this before, Kandi. You get to the summer, you have summer league, they go and play club ball, and then you get them at the start of August, and boom, season starts. There's not a whole lot of lead-up time. This right now is kind of a little bit of an off-season, but there's really not a volleyball off-season.
There's really not. From the time we end in late October, early November, they start playing club, and then you turn around and there's spring ball and then summer ball, and we do work out in the summer. We have our program-wide camp the second full week of July, and it's just go time all over again.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about there's a summer league in Lubbock. It's funny that we call it a summer league because it's basically 4 days and then a tournament. Mm-hmm. It's a summer week, I guess is the best way to put it. Girls, pick that microphone up and let folks know who you are by voice. Don't fight over it there.
I'm Caitlin Olguin. I'm Haley Parrott-Curtis.
There, we can recognize them by voice now if you're listening on radio. So let's talk about Caitlin's story. She's going to really make her blush here, because I remember when you introduced her, when you came in, as soon as you said her name, I remembered. Mm-hmm. This was next to last regular season match, correct?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
We were in a really good position for playoffs, and we had a game against Caprock, and we were warming up in our time to warm up, and our regular starting setter went down during warm-ups. Mallory Holdman went down.
Caitlin is not normally her position, because Mallory is really good at what she does.
Right. And we had run a 6-2 offense early in the season, but had settled into a 5-1, and it just worked for us with the personnel that we had at the time. And Caitlin is very selfless, and she just wants to do what's best for the team. And her defense was amazing, and so we found ways to use her that way instead of setting. But when Mallory went down, Caitlin was the next obvious choice. And so Caitlin's a little challenged in the height department. So we were, a little concerned about her playing front row, but the team rallied around her, and we lost the first set, 25-23, I believe. And the second set, we came back and beat the Caprock 25-4. And so then it was just, coasting. We went ahead and took care of the next 2 sets, and it was senior night that night. It was really emotional, and Caitlin just really pulled through for everyone.
So, Caitlin, I won't make you talk about yourself, but I'm going to ask Haley. Haley, flash back to that night when all of a sudden you look over, and it was Mallory's ankle. She landed awkwardly, and you look over, there's one of your key players. All of a sudden she's out of action. Caitlin steps in. What did that do to kind of fire you guys up to see somebody adjust to that role as quickly as she did?
I think that it gave us a lot of confidence going into that game, knowing that we trusted her just as much as we could trust Mal, because early in the season she had already been setting, and we knew that we could trust her.
All right, Caitlin, I will make you talk a little bit about yourself. Mm-hmm. Coach comes up to you. I mean, did you guys see the injury happen? Was it like in one of your pregame drills? So you
Yes.
kind of knew that she was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
When Coach came up, what was the first thought that crossed your mind?
I was really scared because I didn't want to mess up senior night for all the seniors and do bad and just mess up the game. So I was just really scared.
Did I talk to you? I think I talked to you maybe before the playoffs, and you talked about how you had to there's one thing about, you can have pregame jitters. Everybody has pregame jitters, even old grizzled veterans. But then all of a sudden, you have to chase those away before you ever step on the court. How did that help your confidence? Because you had to play one more match, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You had to play a big role in the playoffs as well. How did that help your confidence stepping in the way you did?
I think it helped my confidence because I was really nervous when I had to set, and I didn't want to let my team down. But then after that, I just felt more confident and kind of everything. Just as a player, I felt more like I could just play instead of being worried all the time to mess up. I could just play and have fun.
So, Kandi, kind of by accident, you found another player who you knew you were going to be able to rely on going into the off season. Not that you weren't relying on her already, but now it kind of gives you some more shells to move around in the off season and coming back in. Same thing for you. How much confidence did that give you in her, knowing, hey, this kid can step in at a moment's notice?
It certainly did give me more confidence because I already knew what she was capable of. My biggest my biggest thought in the moment was, is she going to be okay? Because I knew that her heart is for her team, and I didn't want her to feel bad if things didn't go the way that we wanted them to. And so I just really celebrated her that night because that was a victory for her. It was a victory for the team, but she overcame some fear and nerves, and that's a life skill that she'll carry with her the rest of her life.
What I was going to say is that you won't ever find a high school coach that won't kind of celebrate when they have to put a kid in a tougher than usual position and they thrive. It makes you understand why you feel good about why you coach. So you did go to the playoffs, lost in the first round to
Abilene Wiley. Which
Abilene Wiley is one of those teams that's been good for years and years. I think they just got knocked out in the softball playoffs not too long ago. They're a very good athletic program. That was a good first step for you because you do have some girls coming back. We're coming up on a break here in the Mustang Fan Zone. Reminder, this is LISD night. We'll come back after the Mustang Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. This is Randy Rosetta.
Diving headfirst into Coronado athletics. You're listening to the Mustang Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score on the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the Mustang Fan Zone on a Monday night. This is 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta, and we're talking Coronado volleyball because, as I mentioned, this is the last show before we head into a little bit of a hiatus, and we'll try to get Kandi and some of our players on early next year, hopefully maybe in tournament season before you guys get crazy on Tuesdays. We'll get you in here to talk a little bit because we were just talking on the break. You did lose some key players. Every time I go to a Coronado event, Addison Andrews was there doing something. Mm-hmm. So I know that's going to be a tough one to get used to her not being around. But you have some girls coming back, including these two. Mm-hmm. These two, I'm going to assume, are a couple of your building blocks. Mallory Holdeman is back. Mm-hmm. You're going to look a little bit different, Kandi, but what are you excited about going into this part of the summer? Because I know it's, like we said, volleyball never really stops.
Well, we have a lot to be excited about. Addie Brown was our freshman libero last year, and she's just keeps getting better and better every day, and is really a source of leadership even though she's young. She has a good voice with the team, and we have some other hitters that were on JV last year that have just come on real strong since the season ended. Vivian Welch is one that comes to mind, Lyric Harkers, Kira Shepard, Avery Willis, and then we have a current 8th grader that's coming to Coronado. You know her sister well.
Yes.
Kaylee Smith is coming in, and she's actually playing with our varsity squad tonight at Spring League. She's just so big and has great instincts and has good IQ.
She's got some swagger too.
Absolutely.
Because I met her when she was in the 5th or 6th grade, and I asked her about being Kaya's sister, and she said, "Well, I'm going to be better than Kaya."
Well, she certainly doesn't lack confidence, but she's not arrogant at all. She's very coachable and a lot of fun. I think the girls really enjoy her, and so there's a lot of things to be excited about. And of course, we mentioned Mallory coming back, and we've just got some great options. We have a little more depth in the hitting department than we've had in a while, so that's exciting.
This is with total respect to the girls you lost. Sometimes when you lose girls, that motivates the ones who have been waiting in the wings. You've got one who...
I'm going to tell you, this one's sitting here next to me. It's like she needed them to get out of her way.
I remember her several times last year thinking, I always looked at the roster and I was trying to think, okay, who's going to be back from this team? And I remember, I'll get used to that name.
Yep.
You got to the playoffs, as I mentioned. You lost in the first round, but getting back is always important. Even though the experience was short, for you girls, how much does that mean to you as when you come back, when you get ready for this season, that hey, we got to the playoffs, now we got that taste, let's see if we can't keep building on that?
Wait, so like what are we excited?
Yeah, how much did that kind of lay a foundation for what you've done since then in the off season?
I think it just makes us more excited to go and like be motivated to do it again and get even further and like set our goals even higher to not only make it to the playoffs but win a gold ball and just like do better things, I guess, this season.
Those gold balls are popular things. I've noticed that the last few years. High school kids enjoy when they get to grab those things from their coaches. What about you, Haley? What did getting to the playoffs do to kind of reset your mechanism a little bit as far as confidence and eagerness to get back out there?
I think it just set an expectation within our program that we can get there, and that even though we don't have everybody coming back, that with the few that we do have and the ones we're adding on, that we can do it.
Because you guys weren't far off the 2 years before then. If I remember right, you went into the last week of the season right there on the door. So that makes getting there even more. I told one of the softball coaches I cover, sometimes you have to beat on the door a few times and finally it opens up. So Kandi, for you, being there, going into your 5th year, the fact that your team got you back there, you got themselves back there, what does that do for you confidence-wise in them as you get ready to prepare for the next year?
I think that nobody is ever ready for their first head coaching job. And my first year, we made it to the playoffs, and that was good. I learned so much the second and third years when we didn't, and then I learned even more last year, and I'm always learning. I feel like the more I think I know, the more I need to know. And so for me, there's a confidence in that I kind of have some things figured out. I understand what we have to do to get better, but making sure all the pieces come together so that we actually execute when it matters. I think there's certainly more of a drive to be more intentional with some things that we work on in practice to make sure we're ready when the time comes.
A coach told me a long time ago that your first year as head coach is a little bit like when you first become a parent. Can give you a manual or a book on how to do it, but there's a lot of things that's not included in there.
Right.
So, Lady Mustangs will be in Lubbock's Summer League early June, 4 days, and then a tournament, and then they get back to action in early August. The season starts, I just typed it in, August 12th. So we'll be back after the break in the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta.